Let's take a couple of moments and we'll walk through the audio settings menu on Pioneer's DEH-X5800HD. So from any source, and we're on the auxiliary source right now, let's press in on the volume control and we can scroll along until we find the audio menu. Here's audio and we'll press enter. We start off with our fader control. Now if you don't see a fader control on your head unit, go to the initial settings menu and make sure that you have the pre-outs set to front and rear, or at least the speakers set to front and rear so that you'll see a fader control. If you have everything set as subwoofer output, you won't see a fader control here in the system. So to operate the fader control, press in on the volume, and here we can use the volume control to fade from front to rear. Once you've made the settings that sound best to you, you can go back and roll over to the next setting, which is our balance control, and press enter. Here we can use the volume control again to balance from right to left and choose whatever setting works best there for you again. We'll press back and roll over to the next setting, which is our EQ settings. And for more information about the EQ settings, check out the EQ setting video. We'll roll over to the next setting now, which is our loudness control, and right now the loudness control is switched off. We'll press in on the volume control to switch it on to its low setting. Touch it one more time to the mid, and one more time switches loudness to high. If we touch it once more, loudness is again switched off. We'll switch loudness on and in its low setting for right now. Let's roll over to the next setting, which is our subwoofer control, and right now the subwoofer control is switched off. Now if you don't see a subwoofer control here in this menu, that's because you have the subwoofer control, you have the subwoofer output switched off in the initial setup menu. So check out the initial video and make sure you have the subwoofer output switched available, and it'll show up in the audio menu here. So right now our subwoofer output is switched off. We can press in on the volume control and switch the subwoofer output on and in its normal phase. Touch it again and subwoofer output is on and in its reverse phase. You need to test that out in your car to see which works best. Touch it one more time and the subwoofer output is switched off. So for this demonstration, we're going to switch it on and in its normal phase, and we'll roll over to our next setting, which is our subwoofer control. We'll press enter there to get into subwoofer control, and we have three different things going on here. The first, and the one that's flashing, is our crossover point, right now set to 80 Hertz. We can use the volume control to change that from 50 up to about 200 Hertz. So choose the setting that works best for you. Right now we'll set the crossover point or the low pass filter at 100 Hertz. Press in on the volume control, and we go over to our boost or cut for the subwoofer output at that selected crossover point of 100 Hertz. We'll boost that up just a little, touch in on the volume control again, and we can choose between a 12 or 24 dB octave slope for the crossover point for that low pass filter set at 100 Hertz for right now, 12 or 24 dB per octave. Once you've made the settings there that work best for you, you can hit the go back button and roll over to our next setting, which is the bass boost. Press enter here, and we can put a little more bottom into the system up to a +6, or roll that back down to 0. We'll add a little more bottom into the system for right now, and we'll go back and roll over to the next setting, which is our high pass filter settings, and we'll press enter there. Right now our high pass filter is turned off. If we roll over on the volume control, we switch the high pass filter on, and we can choose a crossover point for the high pass filter. We'll choose 125 Hertz for right now. Press in on the volume control, and we can choose between a 12 and 24 dB per octave slope for that crossover, for that high pass filter at the chosen crossover frequency of 125 Hertz. Once you've made your adjustments there, you can go back, roll over to the next setting, which is SLA, or the source level adjuster. Now, the source level adjuster means that when we listen to music from the CD source, the USB source, or the auxiliary source, we want the volume to be relatively level when we switch between sources. So the source level adjuster is for adjusting the volume of any given source as compared to FM. Now if you remember at the beginning of this video, we were on the auxiliary source. So if we press enter here, we're not right now set to 0, we can make the auxiliary source appear to be a little bit louder or a little bit quieter as compared to FM. So for each of your given sources, CD, USB, auxiliary, you can make these adjustments. If you're on the FM source, AM/FM source, the SLA menu does not appear in the audio settings. Only CD, USB, and auxiliary. So once you've made your adjustments for each of your sources there, you can go back and roll over to the next setting, which is back around to our fader control. At any time, you can exit this or any menu by pressing the band button here to escape.